So middle of the first bracha of Shemona Esrei, and it's called Birchas Avos, and the Chorah it's Mishaber Hashem, the fact that he took the Avos and gave them the what's the word to say? Hashem was with them. That Hashem took them and empowered them and guided them and empowered them, whatever, I'm not sure the words I should use, but that he became Yaakov, and the fact that he continues based on the Avos, so he also is Meitiv Labbanim. So the fact that Hashem, like the bracha is going to end off, Magen Avrohom, that Hashem takes care of them. Whatever the inyan of Avram was, whatever his project, whatever he stood for, so Hashem is going to make sure that it comes to fruition. We said that the Ramchal, the Mekubalim say, God L'kiba Vanora is corresponding to Avram's Midah, Yitzchak's Midah, Yaakov's Midah. And we're not just talking about Midah of Hashem, we're talking about these people that have manifested in themselves these different Midos of God L'kiba Vanora, Pasei Chesed and Din and Rachamim, however we're going to translate it. Not that we're going into Kabbalistic ideas, but that's what the bracha is saying, that Hashem gave haslacha to the avos and is going to make sure that their plan, their project, their desire is going to be masliach till the end. Gomel chasadim tovim. We had a question of chasadim tovim. There are chasadim that are not tovim. It has to be, so Hashem does chasadim that should be tovim. Not then sometimes the chesed is not, if it's not in the right measure, in the right place, so maybe it's not chasadim tovim. Konei hakol, we said that it means that Hashem owns everything. Of course, the reason why he owns everything is because he made everything, and that there's nothing besides him. Nothing has power besides if he gave it power. So, but the point of the Konei is that everything belongs to him. So we said that there's some of Farshim say it doesn't mean that Hashem remembers the chasadim that the Avos did, but the chasadim that Hashem promised to Avram, as you find in the pasuk Chasdei David Anem, that it means the chasadim that Hashem had promised to David. So some learn that's pshat here also, that Hashem remembers the chasadim that he promised to the Avos, and therefore he brings the goel of Nei B'neihem, which is an extra thing that not only to them, but also to their progeny, also to their children. And maybe we spoke about it many times, that children and parents are, and it's a hemshech, it's a continuation of what the parent is. It's the biological connection is very inherent, and when Hashem wanted to give reward to the Avos, so Hashem said, I'm going to give it to you and make your children. And that's what Avram himself said, everything I'm going to have is only going to be temporary, because it's only in me. And children, besides being Hamshech even after the parent dies, but it's also that it's an expansion. It has so many more applications when the child or children, they're not exactly a carbon copy of the parent. They're not just continuing what the parent was, they're different avchanot. Everything, of course, comes from the parents, from the DNA, whatever's going to be on the neshama level. But the children are a creation of the parents. Not that they made them with their hands, but that it comes from them. It emanates from them. So that is avtacha that Hashem gave to the avos, that he's going to take care of their children. Like Hashem said he's going to have children, and then the haslacha is going to be in that nation of Am Yisrael, that whatever Hashem promised Avram is going to come to fruition in his progeny. And it says L'man Shemo. So he's doing it L'man Shemo. L'man Shemo, I have difficulty, I'm not sure what the word L'man Shemo, whenever it says all the times that it says L'man, I'm not sure what it means. I think that there are two possibilities. One is L'man Shemo means for the benefit of his name. Is that the pshat? I didn't think so. I thought the pshat is the other way. Because of what Hashem is, because of Hashem's midos, we'll say L'man Shemo, all the things we know about Hashem. So Hashem is doing it because of his midos, because of his goodness. In other words, so L'man would mean because of, and the other possibility, the first possibility was that he's doing it for the benefit of, for the sake of, that his name would gain from it. I'm more lean towards the second shot, but I can't say for sure. There were some places where I wasn't sure. They're coming up in the next sentence also, which we say, we'll learn it now because it's coming up. Does that mean for your benefit? I heard Russia to say that Hashem, you're going to gain from it. Give us, and you're going to gain from it. I'm not so happy with that chat. I'm not so happy. I think that I would like to start off at least until we find that it's wrong. That Leman Shemo means because of what Hashem is, because of Hashem's. Whenever we say Leman, Leman Kedushasecha, Leman Torasecha, I think that simple pshat, at least to start off, I'd like to say that it means because of Hashem's essence, because of Hashem's midos, because of Hashem's kedusha, whatever it might be. That's why He's doing it. But I'm presenting both possibilities because it still needs investigation. What the word Lama'an means. Be'ahava, and all this Hashem does with love. Hashem is everything we said that Hashem is zocher gomel chasadim tovim and is zocher chasdei yovos, maybe gold of nevinayim. Maybe the Bible is only going on the last part that Hashem takes the promises of chasadim that He gave to the Avos and brings the gold of nevinayim. Be'ahava, Hashem does all of that with love. Hashem loves us, loves the Avos, loves us, and He's therefore giving us all of that good. Here it talks about the Goel. The Goel is the Redeemer. Hashem brings the Redeemer. It doesn't say maybe Geula. I don't know the difference, but the Geula is the redemption. Goel is the Redeemer. Hashem is going to bring the Redeemer to their children's children. There's many generations down that as it is. Laman Shemo, put that in a question mark. Hashem does all of that with love. The regular bracha the whole year round goes Melech Hoser Moshiach Mogen. We'll come back in a second to Zachrenu, but Melech Hoser Moshiach Mogen, I think, is it 4 things or is it 3 things? Means, is it a king who is Ozer Moshiach Mogen, or is it 4 things? Is it a Melech and a Ozer and a Moshiach? I would like to think that it's a king. He's a king who helps. He's a king who's Moshiach. He's a king who's Mogen. I don't think that it's saying Melech on its own. But I'm not saying for sure. Maybe it's saying 4 things. Anybody have a Netiyah to either of the 2 Tzadim? Any leaning?
We had a Hakel Agadol Giba V'Anaira, which was also that pattern of Hakel who is
right, same kind of question, right? Over there you see the Mefarshim say that as Gadol Giba V'Anaira is the main point. That He's a God who is Gadol Giba V'Anaira, and here I would think that it's a king who is Ozer Moshiach Mogen. That's what I think, but I can't reject the other possibility that it's saying Hashem is Melech, Hashem is Ozer. But that's what I would be noted to. I can't say for sure. There's an interesting point that the Gemara says that a bracha that doesn't have Shem or Malchus, so it's not a bracha. And where does it say Melech over here? So here it does say Melech. Bracha Hashem Elokeinu. It doesn't say Melech Olam, but here it says Melech over here. It doesn't say Melech Olam. That might be a halachic issue that it doesn't say Melech Olam. If a person says a bracha Hashem Elokeinu Melech Shakol Niyeh B'Dvaro, I think it's questionable because you have to say Melech Olam. So, but it does say Melech. Let's call Hashem Melech in this first bracha. Hashem is Ozer and Moshiach Mogen. Ozer means helper. Moshiach savior. Mogen protector. So without any source, Ozer means help. Means Hashem is helping us to do something. We're doing also. Moshiach, they would explain that Moshiach means that Hashem is saving us. We have nothing to do. We can't do anything, and Hashem is saving us. And the Mogen means that Hashem protects us. The Chorah means that the evil shouldn't come upon us. Like you call a Mogen, a shield, that Hashem is protecting us, that the evil shouldn't come upon us. To protect us, whatever evil it might be, Hashem is protecting us. And then the bracha ends off. There's a chasima for the bracha. Baruch atah Hashem, Magen Avrohom. Blessed are you. So we spoke about last week at length. We spoke about what Baruch means. That doesn't necessarily the simple pshat when you're blessing somebody, like you bless a person. A human being has an ability to emanate a bracha from himself. He's able to give, just like you give physically. You can give somebody a present. You can give somebody something by blessing him. And the Pasha says it's also by Hashem. Not that, of course, Hashem doesn't need anything, but Hashem made the system in a way that He does take from us. We said a mashal that a father would say, I'm not going to eat supper only if you make it. So that's a mashal. I'm not saying that's accurate mashal, but Hashem wants us to be involved in things that kivayochol, which said the word last week, kivayochol doesn't mean that it's made, that it's not make believe, but it means that it's a chiddush. It's a chiddush that Hashem said that you can give me something. So we're blessing Hashem, and it's giving him koach, so to speak. Hashem is only going to act as Magen Avraham according to how much we give him the blessing that he should be Magen Avraham. Baruch atah Hashem, Magen Avraham. Hashem is the shield of Avraham. Like it says in the pasuk, it's based on the pasuk. Anochi Magen Lach. Hashem said to Avraham, Anochi Magen Lach. The Gemara talks about the fact that we don't say Magen Avos, Dafka Avrohom, and that the Rashi was down in the Chumash, Lech Lechom Yatzucha, Rashi says that they don't say Mogen Avos, it's Mogen Avram. The point is to say that the midah of Avram is going to be something ikari about it. It's going to be something that's going to be fundamental about the midah of Avram, that Yitzchak and Yaakov are after the Yisod, after the fundamental midah of Avram. So then you can build on it Yitzchak and Yaakov. But it's going to be Godol Gibav Anora. I don't know these things, but that's the point to observe that the bracha ends off Mogen Avraham. In Seresh Meitshuva, the Gemara says you're supposed to add on, not the Gemara. I'm sorry, not the Gemara. This is the Gaonim. The Gaonim add on the Zachrein. The Gemara does talks about Melech HaKadosh and Melech HaYitzlakom, Melech HaMishpat, and the minhag to say Zachreinu and Michamocha, and then Achsov and the Sefer, that's from the Gaonim. And this might be a Chiddush that is in the first brachas, because the Gemara says you're not supposed to say Tachnunim in the first three and last three brachas. And they talk about that it's like an emergency measure, that Seresh Meitshuva, so they made the minhag to say it also, even though you're usually not supposed to say a request, a rakasha, supplications in the first and last three brachas. Here it says, Zachreinu l'chayim, remember us for life, you Hashem who are Melech hafetz b'chayim, the king who desires life, v'chasmeinu b'sefer ha'chayim, and inscribe us in the book of life, l'mancha, Elohim chayim, l'mancha, again, here you have l'mancha, doesn't mean for your sake, I would prefer not, I think not. It means because of you, who are Hashem Elohim Chayim, you are the living God. So because of what you are, so remember us and write us in the book of life. We'll get to the book of life. I guess next week we'll talk about what Sefer HaChaim, but that's a tefillah that Hashem should give us life. That we said, don't say Shemei.
Maybe I should ask the question next week, but just in the Chazar Sashatz, are we meant to say Zachreinu l'chaim together with the?
No, the Shliach Tzibur was davening, so really there's no room for the congregation to say it. People like to say it, and that's the reason why a lot of things the Tzibur says, even though it's not really their part, it's the part of the Chazan. So there's minhagim, and some say, most places do say it. The Tzibur says the whole thing. In the Mir Yeshiva, I don't know why, but I remember in America, the Mir Yeshiva, I forgot which ones. They said two and two they didn't say. I think maybe the first two they did not say, and the last two they did say. I don't know what that's based on. In the Chorba here, they don't say it at all. Only the Chazan says it.
Maybe the minhag is that minhag is in the Chanicha also, all the Chanicha yeshivas. They say two and they don't say two. They say two and they don't.
Okay.
Where's it come from?
And why?
I can ask.
Is there any reason? Is there a reason for anybody no reason?
That's what the Zaydid is.
Sure. Yeah, but who's the elder Zaydid? Why did he say so? So I'm not sure. I didn't look into it. I guess it's from the yeshivas. I don't know where it came from. I don't know. I really don't know. That's the first bracha. And as the Gemara says, that the person should be mechavan in all the brachas of Shemon Esrei. If you can't teach him mechavan at least by one, and that the Gemara says is avos, the first bracha. And the post can talk about that as ma'akev, that if he didn't have kavanah, so he should daven again, the ikaron. And the post can ask to daven again because he probably won't remember again the second time. That's the problem. The Mishnah says Mishnah gets stuck in a problem that if he realized after he finished the whole Shemon Esrei, okay, so he shouldn't daven again. But if you remembered after the first bracha, so he's stuck. Now you're going to go further, and you're going to say 17 brachas levatala, if you want the Yotze because you didn't have kavanah by the first bracha. That's the Mishabur's problem. There are those that had a gears in the Gemara that modim, that they're somach on that have kavanah by modim, that also could be maybe that Yotze Shemon Esrei if you had kavanah by modim. What is the kavanah you're supposed to have? Some Mepharshim say that you're standing before Hashem, and a lot of Mepharshim say what the words mean, the meaning of the words. Okay, the more a person prepares for the davening as we're doing, there's more chance that he's going to be mechavan. He's talking to Hashem, he's bowing, he's in the presence of Hashem, the Shekhinah is right there, and Hashem is listening to him. And the more a person has achana, so more chance he's going to daven. I forgot to mention something generally in the whole davening. I think it's a big eitzah, either eitzah or a better word, whatever somebody will tell me what the word is, an eitzah for davening, that a person has to have Yishuv Hadas. Yishuv Hadas means that he's not any place, he's right here, he's here, Yishuv Hadas. So a lot of shuls are not too helpful for Yishuv Hadas. Some of the shuls themselves are just making a person on the go from one shtibel to another shtibel and all that. And the pay sometimes doesn't give you Yishuv Hadas. I had a very good experience during Corona that that with davening at home. I felt much more yeshiva das. I was able to daven much better. And I'm not saying a person should stop yechidus, but to find a good minyan that allows him to have yeshiva das, to come in. If a person comes earlier, he has more yeshiva das. If he has to catch up, surely he doesn't have yeshiva das. That a person should be calm and realize what he's doing and talking. Davening is talking. It's a fascinating thing. It's so simple. I don't know how I could say it. It's like embarrassing to say, but davening is talking to Hashem, and you have to be there. It's not a din of saying. It's not learning. It's not saying all the words. It's talking, and the person has to have yeshiva das that he's now talking to Hashem. It's a fascinating experience when it's successful. So it could be the Psuki de Zimra and his brachos and the Shemon Esrei is not standing before Hashem. I'm not trying to give an impression that I'm always there, but I just, the few times that I am Zocher today, so it's a fascinating experience to be standing and talking to Hashem. So I think Yeshiva Das, for whatever a person can do to prepare himself in a way that he has Yeshiva Das, the right minyan, the right neighbor you have in shul, whatever it is, of course, phones, mamish, also to bring in, to close the phones, like there's no question. And to realize that we're talking to Hashem, what is chus.
When it comes to bowing down, we're supposed to, I see many different things. People bow before the Baruch, during the Baruch, just get up in the middle of Hashem, before Hashem.
The Pashas, what the Gemara says is that he bows without no bending of the knees. He bows by a waist bend, right? A waist bend and a neck bend simultaneously when he starts saying Baruch, and it continues for Atah, and then by Hashem, he rises. And how does he rise? So the Gra says that he straightens out his waist first, and then he straightens his head. Means you see people that they do that kind of thing. They raise their head, and so I think it's a mistake. I think first of all, nobody does that. That's not a human thing. Like, what are you doing? Like, you don't see anybody. Also, I don't think that the old Rosh Yeshivas did it. Nowadays maybe they do already, but when I was young, I never saw anybody older do it. So it's it doesn't seem normal that a person picks up his head when he's bowing and picks up his head and then he goes up. Like, it's not a normal thing. So I think that's a mistake is because they didn't learn the other Gemara that says you're supposed to be a neck bend also. If they would only started, they only bowed their waist, and then you tell them pick up your head first. So then that's what happens. But they're forgetting that there are two bends you're supposed to make. You're supposed to make a full bend, both the waist and also the neck. So then, if you straighten out your head, you're not doing a awkward position. You're just straightening out your head. And even if point to Rashi says that first you straighten your head, and then you straighten your waist. But it's not what people do like this. It's that first you go like this, and then you straighten it up, equal to your body, like the regular, but the waist is still bent, and then you get a full up. So, if you want to say how you're supposed to do it in the Gemara, when a person says Baruch, he bows simultaneously his head and his waist, and pretty deep bow, and he stays that position until he says Hashem, and by Hashem he rises, and he rises. According to Rashi, first he straightens out his head to align it with his body, and then he straightens out his waist to align it with his feet. And according to the Gra, first he straightens his waist, his neck is still bent, and then he straightens out his neck.
Does he get up before Shem Hashem or during Shem Hashem?
I think when he says Hashem's name, not that he's quiet when he rises, but the Gemara says that he's Zokev B'Shem. So I think when he's saying Hashem's name, as he says Hashem's name, he doesn't have to finish. He could say Hashem's name and continue to get up, but he starts getting up when he says Hashem's name. He doesn't have to make Hafsaka in order to rise and then to say Hashem's name. Zokev B'Shem. By
Baruch also, he does it he bows while he's saying Baruch.
I think so. As far as I know, yeah. Korea, but Baruch is okay for shame. In the Atta, there's not. Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, there is a custom about bending the knees. It's not on the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't have about bending the knees. If it is, it's going to be from the Arizal, and the Gemara doesn't have it. What, are you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to ask that question.
So then the question is no difference between the Baruch and the Modim. It's all the same. Yes.
It's going back on Yeshuv Das. Is outside the sheer question. If someone's gonna, the only way, I mean, he's gonna get to a minyan is gonna be very late. There is no minyan until a late hour, and in that state of mind, he's not in Yeshuv Das. He's tiredness or whatever. Is it better to daven Yechidus earlier?
So I'm going to say the answer, and and how do you say halacha ve'ein morin came? It means like not for publicity. I think to daven b'yechidus. It's better to daven b'yechidus than not to daven b'tzibur.
It's better to daven Yechidus than not to daven with.
I mean to say, if he's going to be in the tzibur, it's not going to be davening. Not going to be really davening.
Okay.
I think that I would say so, but this could be taken the wrong way, and a person is going to start davening b'yechidus, and he's not going to daven b'tzibur. It's a big loss. Davening b'tzibur is a big gain, but try to find a good minyan that you could daven with each of us, or to come early, whatever you need in order to find a nice corner, whatever you need in tzibur. But if it comes to a case where you're going to go to tzibur,
to be honest, that there's a minyan. It's to daven at 8 o'clock. You're not in the city. There's minyan at 12 o'clock, but at 12 o'clock. You're not there. I'm saying.
Yeah. I think the daven b'yechidus. People made it. I think it's out of proportion. I'm not saying. I think that the way the COVID mishkal that they gave to a minyan nowadays is out of proportion. And we say what's wrong with out of proportion? What's the problem? That's doing more machmir. But like Rabbi Shalom says, al's cost. Everything has a price. So if you're going to be machmir on one thing out of proportion, so it's going to be on the cheshbon of something else. So I think that the chok v'lo that people made that you have to daven a minyan is always on the cheshbon of something. When it's going to be extreme, it's going to be on the cheshbon of something else, and it needs mishkal, like it says mishkal, to know if you're gaining more or you're losing more. Someone said a story that someone was traveling in the country or whatever. I don't know what the case was. It doesn't make a difference. But he was traveling with an old mother-in-law or a grandmother, whatever it was, and he went like 50 miles out of the way to get a minyan. And he slept the elder Bobby in the car for all that extra time to get a minyan. It doesn't seem like a chasidus. How did somebody say? I forgot. Moshe Mendelovitz told me something. I forgot who he said it in the name of. That we're not here to break records. We're not here. That's not the purpose. I never missed a minyan. The Bishop Shlomo also said the same thing. That if someone said he never missed vasikin, you can be sure that he did a virus, because vasikin is not for everything. But there are things that come before vasikin. He gave an example. Somebody has to visit in the hospital, so he can't because he has to daven vasikin or whatever. He has to daven a minyan. So he says this. Not shakul. Hashem didn't make that. But davening with a minyan is hard yalba. Like it has to be shakul. It has to be in proportion. So there are things that go before a minyan. So, and especially davening. Let's just say davening itself. If you can't daven, if you're going to be in a minyan and you're not able to daven normal, so sometimes you can say Yosef Shlomo Seder. But if it happens again and again, so you got to move. You got to move to a place where there's a good minyan. I hope I did justice to that. But I asked a similar question, and the answer that I got was this thing: like, don't tell anybody. But better to daven b'yechidus.
They're deleted in the recording.
Okay, so whoever's hearing the recording should also know that you're not allowed to say it over. But it's kind of thing everyone knows the secret. No one's telling anybody. Everybody knows. But I think that's true. It's a truism that a person is supposed to daven. They said something with Chazon Ish. I can't quote it. It's a story. But somebody was asking Chazon Ish all kinds of questions about davening with nates in order to make nates. So should he skip this? Should he skip that? Should he skip that? You can't hold cheshbon how he's during surgery on the davening in order to be able to make nates. And finally, Chazon Ish said you have to daven also. Like it's not only the nates, you have to daven. Something to the same effect that we're saying. That don't forget, we're davening. That's the point. The point is to daven. Hashem should help. We should be able to daven with a minute. Like we should be able to do everything on the tzara Yosef Tov. The second bracha, which the Gemara calls Gvuros, and right away it starts, "Atod Gibor La'olam Hashem." You are Gibor La'olam. La'olam means forever. You are strong forever, Hashem. It doesn't say it give up. It says Adni Adonai. Atod Gibor La'olam Adonai. Avrohom and all these things, and all Shmonesh, all davening, he brings makoros, but it's more like paraphrase, where it might be paraphrased from Sukkim, but it's not quoting a pasuk. You revive the dead. Rav Lo Shia, you are great to help. I think it's a separate point. One is Machai Mesim Atah, and one is Rav Lo Shia. I don't think it goes together. Machai Mesim Atah, that Hashem is Rav Lo Shia to be Machai Mesim. It doesn't seem to say that. Hashem is Gibor La'olam. Hashem is Machai Mesim. It says again Atah Gibor, Machai Mesim Atah. And Rav Lo Shia is another title of Hashem that he's Rav Lo Shia. He's great in strength and whatever you want to say. He's Rav in order to help. Again,
Rav,
maybe I'm wrong. Kobe Rav, yes, please.
what would Rav mean over here? Great in what sense? Meaning
Rav is
whatever is
great.
necessary?
Rav, in whatever is necessary to be Moshiach. That is based on a pasuk. He says here, translates, and this is the Marbel Oshia. It's paraphrasing from the pasuk in Yeshaya, Samach Gimel Aleph. That's the pasuk. When I was doing this last time with the Sibor, so we looked at the pasukim, but I don't think it helps too much to see the. Sometimes it's sheds light, but most of the time, I didn't see a difference if we know the source in the pasuk or not. And I don't know usually if the Chazal meant to be sourced in the pasuk. What does it say here? Yeshaya Samach Gimel Aleph. מזה בא מאדם חמוס בגדים מבצרו הזה, ודבל גושו צועה ברוב כוחו, אני מדבר בצדקה, רב לא שיר. I don't know if we get from here more than from the dominating, but I do see that it's a thing on its own. It doesn't go together. Machai Mesim Atah Rav Lo Shia. It's a thing in itself. Hashem is medaber b'tzedakah, Rav Lo Shia. Hashem is great. Marbelo. I said great to me, Moshiach. These translations says Marbelo Shia. And then we have either praising Hashem that he's Morid Atal, or praising Hashem that he makes the winds blow and makes the rain come down. Morid Atal, Morid Ageshem. You have Mashiv Ruach, which means to make the wind blow. The word Mashiv means to make blow. Hashem makes the winds blow and brings the rain. The wind and the rain go together, as Rabbi Miller explains that if you wouldn't have wind, you wouldn't have rain, because the rain is the evaporated water over the ocean, and then you need the winds to transport it over the dry land, and then when it then it can rain over the dry land, or else it's going to rain again over the sea. So you need the wind to make the Morid Geshem. It's not. You could say that it's two separate things. The wind have other benefits besides the rain, but it does go together. That by blowing the wind, it is Morid Geshem. Some say Morid Mashav Ruach, also Morid Atal. They put it together also. There probably doesn't have to do with each other. The Mashav Ruach is always need Ruchos, and Tal is always, and those are blessing. There's a praises to Hashem that He does that. We're not asking for the rain. We're not asking for the Tal or the winds. We're praising Hashem that He does so. Mazkirin, it's not Shoal. It's not yet a Sheilan. The first brachas we don't ask. It's praises. Hashem is Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed. Continues with the rain and the dew that causes life. Our food. Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed. Hashem takes care of the needs of the living with kindness. Yeah, the Chesed also in the Pomal Chasadim Tovim in the first bracha. Here is Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed. Hashem with Chesed, even though this bracha might be a bracha of Gevurah, not of Chesed. The first bracha is Chesed, maybe the second one is about Gevurah, but it does have here also Chesed. Hashem supports the living with kindness. And Mechayim Mesim B'Rachamim Rabim. This to the Chaim and this to the Mesim. Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed. Hashem keeps them alive and gives them food that they need and takes care of all their needs. And Mechayim Mesim B'Rachamim Rabim. Hashem does revive the dead. Doesn't say He's going to. It says already the second time. Before it also said Mechayim Mesim Atah. Here it says Mechayim Mesim B'Rachamim Rabim. Hashem revives the dead with great mercy, much mercy. Hashem supports the falling, heals the sick, and how would you say matir? Releases the bound, those that are bound. In the morning we say matir su when we. Yes, please.
Is that specifically talking about people in prison or anything which is somehow?
So in the bracha we say matir su when we get up. That person is considered bound to his bed because he can't move, and then Hashem gives him a bracha that he could sit up, and He says matir asurin. So it could be anybody that's in any situation that's considered bound. It doesn't have to be dafka behind the bars, but any case where he's bound, Hashem gets him out of that situation. Somech noflim, Rabbi Miller points out that somech noflim doesn't only mean when you're about to fall that Hashem supports you, but the fact that you don't fall is also called somech noflim because we're all fallers, as Rabbi Miller says. That if a person wouldn't have the miracles of the balance that he has I don't know I don't know the medical terms of what he has in his ears that keep him balanced all the time. It's miracles and miracles that a person doesn't fall down. Every time he stands up and he doesn't fall, it's a miracle. Because if you take a statue or a puppet, the shape of a person, it wouldn't stand. You have to prop him up because it's not a shape that stands. You have to have a miracle to keep it up, and that miracle is happening constantly. So I'm not saying that's Pashut in the bracha, but Rabbi Miller I think is a beautiful observation that Hashem is constantly keeping us from falling. And of course, when a person almost falls and then he's able to get up, and Hashem is literally Hashem, then surely, and then he can also have so much nuflim is not only in the fall. It could be any kind of fall. It could be his whole life is falling down, whatever. Everything's going against him. Hashem keeps him up. It doesn't have to be dafka in the fall. Hashem keeps up those that are falling. Hashem heals the sick. Rabbi Miller will say again, everywhere we're all sick, and you need constant immune system to keep us healthy, and everything else that the body's working, constantly taking out all the psolas, getting oxygen to the brain, everything. Hashem is constantly healing us. Hashem is doing wonders. So that will be Rofei Cholim, Matir Asurim. Again, you could talk about that. We're constantly Asur, and Hashem has to get us out the whole time. Or those that are they're ready in the position, Hashem releases them.
What does it mean? What does it mean? First of all, what's the Rachamim Rabim over here? And secondly, B'chayim Mesim is going to happen one day, the Mashiach or after the Mashiach. So why are we talking about he does it?
Right, I don't know. It says in the beginning also, Mechayim Mesim Matah. It doesn't say you're going to. It says you are Mechayim Mesim. Again, Mechayim Mesim Rachamim Rabim. And here it does say Mechayim Emunasa L'Shenei. For means Hashem is going to uphold his trust, his loyalty, that he's going to keep his promise. So Mechayim Emunasa L'Shenei for to those that are sleeping in the dust. That's really talking about the dead, and Hashem is going to keep his promise to make them alive. And then again it says Melech Memisu Mechayeh. It says it a fourth time. So I don't really know what the answer to your question. That we're praising Hashem now that he's Mechayeh Mason. Is it possible to say that that's a praise for Hashem even though he didn't do it yet? But we're praising him the fact that he is. He's a Mechayeh Mason. It's going to happen one day, but Hashem is Mechayeh Mason. Some do talk about the fact that, yes?
I'm sorry, that maybe we go well with the first part. Mechayeh Mason Mata Rav Le'Shia. Mechayeh Mason Mata Rav Le'Shia. But to say this Mechayeh Mason Barachim Rabim is mashma that he's doing it now. And also one day he will do it.
Mechayeh Mason. Maybe the Mechayeh Mason means that he is. He's Mechayeh Mason. It doesn't have to mean that he already did it. He is Mechayeh Mason. Is it possible to say that? If not, then I don't have a good answer. Some do say that it's referring to, that says many times here, Mechayeh Mason. Some say one is referring to the fact that Hashem makes us to wake up in the night. We're Echad Meshishim Misa. So the fact that Hashem gives us life, that also might be called, that is Chiyas Mesa. Some say that. Some Mepharshim say. But they bother that it says again and again and again. I'm not sure if it's a kasha, but that's one of the twists they say. That one is referring to the fact that Hashem wakes us up from the unconscious state. Also in the morning, that agav, in the morning when we wake up, on the kind of neshama, the first bracha we say when we wake up, officially, we don't do it most places, but we end up. Most of Gorim is sin. A pega mace is a dead man. It's a dead corpse. That's not called a sleeping man. And it's interesting, when we wake up in the morning, we right away talk about that Hashem is going to bring back the neshama to the dead corpses. So there is a very big connection between sleeping and death. So Hashem is Mechayeh Mason. Maybe it's referring to waking up in the morning. And there were times that Hashem was Mechayeh Mason also in the past. There's stories in Tanakh that Hashem was Mechayeh Mason. So maybe it's referring to those particular times that Hashem showed it already. So you could call Hashem Mechayeh Mason even though it wasn't on a grand scale yet. Baal, just to say not Baal. Baal could mean like Aramaic, not, no, Baal. But Baal, who is like you? You Hashem, who is the, I don't have a good word for Baal, the one who has it all, but doesn't mean the owner. Baal Gevurot, the one who has all powers, who is comparable to you. This means nobody. The answer is nobody. Nobody's kamocha, ain't kamocha, ain't dom malach. Melech, you are a king. You are Hashem, are a king. Melech me'emisu mechayah, king that makes to die and makes to live. Umasmiach Yeshua, and Hashem makes sprout forth salvation. Hashem is me'emisu mechayah, umasmiach Yeshua. It does have a little ring over here that Matzmiach Yeshua has something to do with the Chiyas Mason. It is interesting that Matzmiach Yeshua. There's going to be a bracha later on that the whole bracha is Matzmiach Karen Yeshua. Baruch atah Hashem Matzmiach Keren Yeshua. Here you have Matzmiach Yeshua. I don't know. Does it have to do with Ches and Mason? Some places it might be mashma like that. But if you don't take it together with Ches and Mason, so it's a separate issue. But Hashem is Matzmiach Yeshua. Nothing to do with Ches and Mason. And that's considered in the Micha Mocha. It doesn't say before, Samech Noflim, Rofi Cholim, Matir Surya, Matzmiach Yeshua. It doesn't say that. It says it at the end, Micha Mocha, Hashem, you are Melech Me'Misum Machaya, Matzmiach Yeshua. I think just to remember, just put in a low flame that it could be that Yeshua has something to do with Ches and Mason. On Shabbos is mashma a little bit like that. We'll get eventually, maybe we'll get to the Shabbos davening that has some. How does it go in the end of? There's a song over there. How does it go? Got the words first to hand. Ein kerkecha Hashem Elokeinu b'olam hazeh, ve'en zevasam Elokeinu l'chai olam haba. If it's built chag aleinu v'moisha Mashiach, you have Elokeinu Malkeinu go aleinu, and then ein dom l'cham Moshiach l'schiyas ha'mesim. So maybe there's something to do with the Moshiach, something to do with Ches HaMesim, and let's put it together. That here it says Moshiach l'schiyas ha'mesim, and here it says Me'emisum l'chai Matzmiach Yeshua. So maybe it has something to do with Ches HaMesim, but I'm not sure. On Tesesh Me'etshuva, we have Micha Mocha Avarachamim, Zachay Yisrael L'Chayim V'Rachamim. Who is like you? Again, Micha Mocha. We said Micha Mocha about Geruas, and now we say Micha Mocha Avarachamim. Who is like you? The Father, the Father of mercy. Avarachamim. Avarachamon means the merciful Father. Avarachamim is the Father of mercy. Avarachamim, the Father of mercy. That's what it says. I never thought about it. There's a different case, right? Avarachamon, I think. So maybe Nusach Sfar, I'm not sure. Avarachamim means the Father of mercy. Avarachamim. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Avarachamim.
Would there be a difference in Pshat?
Avarachamim. Father of mercy. It doesn't sound like the merciful Father, or the Father who is Avarachamim. I think it means the Father of mercy. But I never thought about it before. That's right now while we're talking.
What's the difference in Pshat?
That is, Hashem is the Father of mercy. Not that Hashem is our Father who's merciful. He's a Father of mercy. But I'm skeptical. That's what it means. I don't know. Hashem remembers his creations for life. Remembers means that he remembers and he acts. It means that he reckons with them to give them life. Berachamim, he gives them life. He remembers that. He remembers with Rachamim his creations to give them life. You are trusted. You are trusted. We have the trust in you that you are going to revive the dead. Blessed are you, Hashem, who revives the dead. Like again, somebody asked that you don't see that Hashem did it yet, besides the few times that Hashem did it. But Hashem is already called Mechayah Misim. Not that he's going to, he's called Mechayah Misim. It could be the act he's going to do, but he's already called Mechayah Misim.
What does B'nai mean over here?
Trusted, like steadfast. Always the word Amen always means steadfast. We put a couple of rayas that it says Yated Ne'aman, all these Babayis Ne'aman, it all means steadfast. Steadfast. It doesn't sway, it doesn't fall. It's steadfast and loyal. Loyalty means the steadfastness, that it stays firm. So Hashem, you put Emun. Hashem, when you put Emun in somebody, it means you put trust in him. I know that he's gonna come through with his word.
When we say Micha Mocha Avarachamim, so Zecher Yitzur of the Chaim Barachamim, what's the Chaim? Are we talking about Chaim now? We're talking about Chaim in the next world? Maybe we should wait for next week.
In the Pashup Pshat, I would say without knowing anything, this is the beginning. I think Ramchal talks about your question, but the Pashup Pshat, we would say life in this world the same way that with Rosh Hashanah, we're talking about life. There is the everlasting life, and Rav Nosson Rothman says in general, whenever it says life, there's no difference. Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. Life means the existence, and there's existence in this world or the next world. You can talk about the Chaim. It's the same issue, the issue of existence. So there's one existence in this world, there's existence in the world to come, and we want life in this world, we want life in the world to come. So the word itself encompasses both. Okay, thank you. It's an honor. Yes, please.
Sorry, we're having a Chnas Sefer Torah next week in our shul. So I've been busy with